Blockbuster-sæsonen er så småt skudt i gang, og biograferne er allerede ved at blive løbet over ende af kulørte superhelte og skydeglade slyngler. Det islandske drama Blandt mænd og får er nærmest den diametrale modsætning til den typiske blockbuster. Et enormt afdæmpet og stemningsmættet drama om to aldrende brødre på Island, der ikke har talt sammen i årtier, men som blev tvunget til at skrinlægge deres fjendskab, da en frygtelig sygdom rammer deres værdifulde fårebestand. Det er en unik film, hvor der ofte er adskillige minutter mellem replikkerne, og hvor den på en gang melankolske og underfundige tone ofte skaber tvivl om, hvorvidt man bør grine eller græde. Og det gør i hvert fald Blandt mænd og får til et særdeles frisk pust under blockbuster-sæsonen. Vi mødte for nylig filmens instruktør, Grímur Hákonarson, og ja, det udtalte vi altså korrekt.
Grímur Hákonarson.
Til en snak om hans ejendommelige film, som blev belønnet med Un Certain Regard-prisen på sidste års Cannes-filmfestival, der netop hylder kreativ nytænkning.
Jeg ikke med gode fréttir. Það komið upp riða hjá bróðinum.
Er það ekki bara líklegt að verði skorið niður hjá okkur báðum? Þetta í fyrsta sinn sem veikin kemur upp í dalnum. Við greiðum fyrir hverja kind sem fargað. Hefur eitthvað hugsað í framtíðina? Veistu hvað þú búin að gera? Ég vil við stoppum þessa vitleysu af. Og hvernig hefur við að gera það? Við bara neitum að skera niður.
I wanted to tell a honest story about sheep farmers and the connection between them and the animals. Basically, it's a story my father told me. It's a true story. There were two brothers living in the north of Iceland, and they fell in love with the same woman when they were young, and she left with a third guy, you know. She rejected them both, and they blamed each other, you know. But they had to live on the same land, and they built two farms next to each other. And there was no sort of windows facing the other farm, so it was a bit crazy. And I found that story interesting because it's sort of something sort of co-human, you know. It's like universal, you know. I mean, many people have experienced something like that. In Rams, you know, this conflict is a little bit absurd. Because they are living so isolated, you know, they are living in the middle of nowhere. There are no people around them. If you're living in the city, you can go on the street and you can talk to someone, but they are just living with the sheep. And that actually plays quite well with the sheep connection because they have to talk to the sheep, you know, and they get closer to them.
It's interesting what you're saying about the story being true, and I've also heard you say that Icelandic people are very stubborn by nature. Why is it that Icelandic peoples are that way? What is it about the way?
Yeah, it's difficult to sort of judge. Maybe you never judge like the whole nation, you know. Of course, I mean, people are different, but I think it's there's some truthness in that. That the fact that we are an island, a very isolated island, we were isolated for a very long time, and our language is also today much more different from Danish and Norwegian, but it used to be the same language, you know.
Enginn á stærri þátt í lífi þjóðar, samtvinnast kindin bóndans starfi og lífi. Ef leiðinni vel var sól og bjart í sinni, svartnætti ef það þrengdi að fjárhjörðinni.
It's a small nation and people are very proud of their culture, you know, and the Stubborn Brothers, they're also a part of a generation, you know. They are from that sort of maybe masculine sort of generation where, you know, these kind of our grandfathers, you know, like these old men who don't share emotions, and they don't cry, and they're quite macho, you know. So they are also representing a generation.
Læri. Átján.
The movie has a lot of drama, but it also has this lovely, subtle humor to it. But was it a difficult balancing act, having that humor but still staying true and respectful to how special this environment is, the concepts and these special practices that they have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of like in a way this is like a personal style, like a directing style I've developed like throughout the years. to mix like comedy and drama. I want to tell like sort of serious stories with some kind of messages. I'm a little bit sort of political filmmaker, I would say, you know. But I also want to entertain, you know. I don't want them to become too serious, you know. I want people to have a laugh, you know. And the balance can be very difficult because you can, if things get maybe too funny, then maybe you lose some kind of depth or the emotional part, you know. And I think that this is actually one of the strongest sort of things about Rams is that people are, you know, laughing and crying, you know, watching a film. But I think in Rams I'm mainly sort of focusing on this kind of mentality, you know, this kind of stubbornness, and also the gap between the rural and the urban society, you know. When the brothers have to slaughter the film, the people from the south, from Reykjavik, the city people, the educated people, they come and destroy their lives, you know, and all that. So I think I'm more kind of dealing with local sort of Icelandic cultural and historical sort of elements.
Keeping hold of the old values. And
yeah. They're the old kind of farming society, the old sort of farming values, you know, as a contrast to the modern sort of technology and you know, education.
Mm-hmm. You often hear the fact that in movies you shouldn't work with children or animals, and of course there's a lot of animals in this movie. They have to go through a lot of difficult scenes. I guess especially the snowstorm scenes were a bit difficult to direct with the sheep. How was that whole experience with the animals? And I think I read somewhere that you had to do some animal casting. Actually, you know, to cast the sheep. How was that process and working with the animals?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think it's always important when you're making a film to cast, to have the right cast, you know. And if you have the right cast, then things get easier. And that it's also for animals. And we spent a lot of time trying to find the right sheep. Actually, we spent more time on that than to find the main actors, you know, because I knew them quite well. We met a lot of different kind of sheep. And the sheep we found, they were very calm because they used to be around people, and these sheep sort of would walk, almost like dogs, they would just walk towards you and you could touch them, you know. And yeah, it was quite easy to work with them, you know, I mean, much easier than I thought. I had some nightmares before I started to film, you know, about all these sheep scenes, you know. It's a very stressful thing that if you're working so much with animals and you have a tight schedule, you don't have much time to lose, you know, you can't lose any time. And then you really have to rely on someone who you can't talk to. And you never know what's going to happen. That's really stressful, you know. And I had some days, I had like crazy schedule, and I really had to rely on the sheep would just make it in 3 takes. So that's you know, that's stressful, you know. You know, I slept, I didn't sleep well, you know.
Had to get the best sheep in the business, Merrill sheep, maybe. Yeah. Probably a good one.
Yeah.
That was a bad pun. Yeah, sorry.